Welcome to Cooking with Will, and today I am making a Runza Casserole. Now, before I get to the actual cooking part or anything like that, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take this cabbage and I am going to shred the absolute crap out of it. So the first thing I do really before I shred those, I go ahead and peel a couple of layers of the cabbage off. This lighter layer of stuff you're not going to use to shred, and it won't be used in the casserole. So you kind of want it to be like this, kind of around like that. And also, now that the layers are peeled back, I'll go ahead and water the vegetable down. Just make sure you get any excess, dirt, pesticides, what have you off. Alright, so as you see here, I got the cabbage down ready to shred. This is the cabbage that you get the first couple layers off, and then here's the cabbage that's gonna be way too tough to eat. As you can see, you try to really make sure you don't get the stem on it. It's the same way as if you were cutting slaw on the WD-40, because we ain't cooking with that today. That's not an ingredient. But anyway, that's sort of what you're gonna have left. If you can try to get a little closer, go for it. But this is gonna be a good amount for what we're making. Now, one thing I like to do as I do this is it's going to end up being a lot, and you don't want to have to dump the whole thing into while you're cooking, and especially when you need space. So what I like to do is I like to just pick up, once I shred a little bit, just put it in a container. That way, once it's time to put it in, just open up the container and shake it out. And whenever we do that, it'll be being mixed with meat. If you use onions, you can use onions. I honestly used little onion pieces, diced onions, like dry diced onions, just because it's a texture thing for me. Alright, now that we're done with that portion, here's the other ingredients we're going to need. Cream of mushroom soup, ground beef. I honestly prefer the lower fat, the better. You're going to need 2 crescent rolls packs like these. A thing sharp cheddar. I personally am using mushrooms, but you don't have to use them. And then we'll use a couple of spices, mainly salt and pepper. It's a really rustic, basic dish that doesn't really have a lot of seasonings, but the flavor of it itself will be worth it. Alright, so the first thing I'm doing here is I'm going ahead and putting the meat on the skillet. I've also added some olive oil in there as a base. So what we're going to do first off is I'm going to go ahead and let this start cooking. And once this starts getting browned, I'm then going to add our cabbage. I'm going to add some basically dried chopped onions. You can also use a regular onion. Traditionally they use, a medium onion that they chop up. But like I said, for me, I'm just not a big onion fan, and whenever I need the flavor and not the texture on that, instead I go with the ones that you can get in the spice rack, the traditional mixed onions. What, Ollie? Smells good, don't it? I got one person happy. So I'm gonna let this brown for a couple minutes, and then we're gonna add the other stuff. Meanwhile, while I was letting that go on, I went ahead and did the first step with the casserole dish, which is take a regular casserole dish. I sprayed some ham on it. And then I took one of the canisters, popped it open, and I just rolled the whole thing out. What you are going to have to do is you're going to want to knead it a little bit. You see where there's certain holes. You want to try to get as much of that handled as possible. Having it once in a while is okay. I mean, it's not going to ruin the dish or anything. But, if you want everything to be between the 2 sets of biscuits or crescent rolls, that's what you're going to have to do. Alright, well, what I've done is I've went ahead and added some mushrooms and some onions to this. As you can tell, it's still a little bit red, so it's not going to be transferred quite yet into the dish. But what I'm going to go ahead and do now is I'm going to add the cabbage that we already prepped. We're going to start pouring that all on this. So it's a lot. So we'll do a little bit here. And you want to start, just stirring it around. It's going to take a couple minutes, but you want to go ahead and start stirring it around. And then what you also want to do during that time is you want to go ahead and take your salt and pepper and just start going ahead and spraying it on here. I'm generally pretty liberal with my salt and pepper here, so there you go. Off camera, I'll probably add a couple of my own special seasonings I like to add, but for this, really just want salt and pepper. A little bit more. Alright, so I went ahead and preheated the oven to 350, and I had a cream of mushroom soup, and I added about a cup and a half of cheddar cheese. So now I'm just going to stir this in. This is going to go as the third layer, with the meat mix being the second layer, and then the other part of the croissants being the top layer. So this part's almost done. Basically you stir it and you leave it alone until it's time to pour. So we got about good here to go. Alright, so as you can tell, this is basically done. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and put it in here. Like I said, once I add the cabbage, I let it cook for about four more minutes or so. So I went ahead and turned that off. And what we're going to go ahead and do is we're just going to take this and just pour it on in. That's the reason why I really like using the lean meats, is because it makes it a lot easier to, you don't have to worry so much about fats and stuff like that. I mean, it's going to be, you already know it's going to be a pretty healthy dish overall, so. Alright, so once you're done spreading it out, the next thing you gotta do is that cream and mushroom cheese mixture. It's gonna be the same process. You're just gonna spread it out on top of your mix here. It's being a little hard to work with me right now because I'm holding my phone with one hand doing this with the other. But basically you just want to get spread out throughout the whole thing. You want to make sure that it's going to be pretty well covered. I will do a little better job of it once I put the phone down, but I just kind of want to let y'all see what exactly I'm doing at this point. So the last step is pretty self-explanatory. You just take the last set of the biscuits and roll them out like you did. It doesn't have to be as perfect as the bottom one, because quite frankly it's going to rise, and not just that, but I mean you got a whole casserole dish filled with goodies in here. So the oven's preheated, and we're going to go ahead and put it in for 35 minutes. And after 35 minutes, here is the finished result. Again, like I said, I used two things, crescent rolls. We used a few cups of cheddar cheese, a thing of cream mushroom soup, about 1.5 pounds of ground beef, a head of cabbage, and salt and pepper. And I also personally added a little bit of garlic powder and mushrooms to mine. I'll cut out a piece and I'll show y'all what it looks like from the inside. And here's the finished product. Brought out the sexiest depiction of it ever. I also forgot to mention that I did also use chopped onions. I used the little drier ones here instead of actual onion itself. So that does it for my first ever cooking YouTube video. If you like it, leave me a comment, and who knows, I'll probably do another one with Ollie again in the coming weeks. Thank you.